Anthony Reeves, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
I'm excited to talk with you. Today, you are VP of Global Brand and Creative at Kohler Company. You're also a speaker, consultant, and owner of the workshop and author of Eat the Donkey. So really, as we talked beforehand, this is a vehicle to bring on some of the best marketing and advertising leaders to talk to the next generation. And really that advice kind of applies to anybody in their career. We just have to pick a target audience, if you know what I'm talking about. So Anthony, let's kick things off here. Tell us about you, what you're up to today, why we brought you on the show.
Yeah, Eat the Donkey, the book launched 7 weeks ago now, so I'm excited by that. And what I'm really excited about, above all, is the conversations that I'm having with people about remaining uncomfortable, not just now, but all the way through their life. And there's a huge parallel towards your life and business. And from an organizational point of view or from a strategic point of view, a lot of companies have become phenomenally comfortable in what they do. And I'm excited by driving brands to keep sort of restless and keep exploring to where they're going to the future.
Ooh, okay. Let's dive into this. This is fascinating. I like to play a little bit of devil's advocate just to stir the conversation up here. When we're talking about creatives, advertising agency professionals, wouldn't discomfort mitigate or delay or hurt or harm the chances of creativity?
There is two types of discomfort, and I'm very careful. There's a tension between the two. There's employee satisfaction and employee comfort. And there's also discomfort in process and discomfort in thinking. And
Mm,
as creatives, I believe we are naturally uncomfortable people. We are natural explorers. We like putting ourselves into situations and positions that aren't comfortable at all. And going back to, when I started my creative roots back in Australia, I was working on a beverage account, like a beer account. And I was asked to go and live in Western Australia, in Perth, on the other side of the country for 2 weeks, learning about the culture and learning about the ways and learning what ways forward. And that meant I had to go to pubs and bars and actually go and meet people and talk about Swan Lager, which is a type of beer. And that is purposeful discomfort, where you're putting yourself out there and you're uncovering things. From a employee satisfaction point of view, yes, we want teams comfortable, and you can only explore when you are super comfortable. What I'm finding though now is we're optimizing our way to a level that we think that optimization is going to create growth, and it's not going to create growth at all. We've become inside of the business, we become creating this like hubris type situation, and we're not moving forward and we're not progressing.
understood. Let's talk about some credibility here before we dive deeper. What puts you as the authority to write this book and talk about discomfort, comfort, the things that we'll talk about the rest of this episode?
So yeah, that's a great question. What a lot of people don't realize is my formative years as a child was growing up in the Australian outback. With that, there were plenty of times when we had to hunt or find our own food. The nearest shop was 1,000, I'm going to say kilometers, so 600 miles away, and there was no food out there. There was a couple of times when we definitely had to physically eat donkey to survive, and you have to remain discomfortable to find your way through and drive that. Fortunately, I've been surrounded by a lot of great people who've helped me throughout my career and helped me sort of remain restless and in that exploratory state. I've worked in Sydney, in New Zealand, in Singapore, and London, and across the US at some of the largest companies and brands that actually push discomfort purposely. Now, when I was at Amazon, they're not making the team uncomfortable. They're making the process do the hard work for you, and they make the process ask the really hard questions, and so that team members can do that. Amazon has a great way of the most junior person in the room has the ability to ask and disagree with the most senior person in the room. And that's the
Hmm.
process that really drives that, not the people.
So, and a lot to unpack there. How do you go from a childhood growing up in the outback, 600 miles away from the nearest grocery store, having to hunt and find your own food, to breaking into the marketing and advertising world?
Wow, that's a long question, and I could spend hours talking about it. I think from my end of high school in Australia to when I went to college in Australia is the period when I got very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of great people. And I remember one of the first, I don't want to say girlfriends, but people I was really interested in a relationship at the time was working at an agency called Leonardi and Curtis, and they're not around anymore, but they were one of the true hot shops in Australia.
Mhm,
And I remember walking into the agency, and it was actually just before we went to track training. So we're going out to run track that night. And it was one of those eye opening moments where you go, what is this and how do we be part of that? And that mindset of moving forward is something that I've discovered for myself is being rather phenomenal. And to the point where I actually went and redid school just because I found something really interesting about advertising and marketing and understanding people. I was probably later in my career as a creative. I'm saying sort of mid-20s was when I really got going. It was the point when I discovered that I had a way with words and understanding people. And as creative people, you don't have to be a great writer or you don't have to be a great art director, but you have to be really, really good at getting inside people's heads and
mhm,
really good at joining those little dots and building things. And from that, I joined agencies and had phenomenal teachers, whether it's through, George Patterson Bates, which is Y&R, which became WPP, or through Ogilvy. It was just a great way for me to work my way through. And there are times when I was in situations that I shouldn't have been in, or I pushed myself beyond what I was
mhm.
capable of, but that allowed that growth to really happen.
So you a girlfriend that's not your girlfriend, somebody you were
Yeah.
interested in. Listen, Anthony, that's a story of my life. I mean, we can talk for hours about that. How do you even find a relationship? Listen, we can, Jack and I, my co founder, that's something that's a through line. And that's actually why we do this whole thing. This whole media company is to find a wife one day. But you didn't hear that. Nobody else heard that. It's all about helping the next generation, not helping us find wives. But so you had this point of awareness. You saw an agency like object inspired you. You've already done schooling, which I'm not super familiar what you mean by that. Like you went to university, you finished up, you got a degree. You were probably studying something different. You were probably working some odd jobs, but then found the agency. You went back to school. Is that another 4 years, another 2 years, another half year? Help another 2 years of schooling, then concentrating on advertising and marketing to build up a portfolio to see how you can think to be an art director or copywriter. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the Australian has this great system. So originally, I went to school for civil engineering,
Okay.
and zero idea how I ever got through that program. Like I look back and I kind of laugh at it now.
That's a tough program. I mean,
A tough
that's
program.
anything engineering is like I would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah, it is interesting. And then Australia has this phenomenal program called Award School. So Australia Writers and Art Directors Club, and they run a short night course where you do a system or a program inside the agencies where you're the city where you're living. So it runs in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. I think there's one in Perth as well. And you spend a lot of time in agencies. And every Tuesday and Thursday nights, you get a brief on a Tuesday night, and you have to come back with ideas on a Thursday night. And I bumped into Matt McGrath at the Cannes Lions, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I said, Matt, do you realize that you were the leader of award school when I went through the program? And the great thing about award school is it allows leaders to give back and
Mhm.
allows people to give back and teach what they've been learned. And even now, a lot of lessons that I learned from Matt and that's actually Simon Reynolds at the time was all about how to come up with ideas and how to see the idea through.
Hmm.
So normally they start with probably which is one of the hardest mediums there is to work on, which is an out of home billboard, and then
Hmm.
eventually they progress up to a TV spot or a digital campaign. But you always started work on the probably which is you've got a glimpse in time when someone's driving past a billboard or
Three to
walking
five
past that.
seconds.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and they teach you how to think and teach you how to grow and how to keep simplicity at the core of everything you do.
Yeah.
And that program changed my life. It really did. And it opened up doors that I would never think of being opened. And I there's been some hard times, don't get me wrong, but it's all about having that resilience to really keep pushing forward to what you want.
This is a really good lesson for folks. I think there's a lot of people that listen to our show that are studying advertising as undergrads. And what we try to do with this show is to hound in the fundamentals, like, yes, understand the theory, understand marketing, understand psychology as an undergrad, get your English classes done, get the fundamentals, but then you still need to have a portfolio and still need to showcase your thinking in some way, shape, or form. A lot of people are surprised when they get to their senior year of college in the US that they have a degree from a good institution. They paid a lot of money for it, but they will struggle to get internships or full-time jobs because they don't actually have the work to show. At that point, I do say to them, there's two probably solid routes for you. It's either you hunker down for a couple months, find a really strong mentor, and then focus on your portfolio and all the good things that you need to do within that. And then the other route is you can go to an award school, a portfolio school that we have in the US as well, which costs a little bit more money, a lot more money. It could be anywhere from 6 months to a year to 2 years. But that also gets the benefits of all those connections. So that's kind of like you did that after getting a civil engineering degree. You just probably worked your ass off for 4 years to get that, and then you still had to put in extra work to build that portfolio. I mean, did you ever have any moments of doubt? Like when you were in the award school, did you completely fall in love with it? Can you tell me more about that process?
Moments of doubt. I think, God, every creative has moments of doubt. Like even
Mhm.
now, where I'm at the tail of my career, I'm very open to talk about that. Is there are moments of doubt when you're presenting to a CEO or a CMO. There are guaranteed to be moments of doubt, and that's
Yeah.
that's life, and that's we are great creative people are emotionally driven and they have a very big emotional core. So when they're giving out with an idea, they're giving they're creating something that's internal, and there's going to be moments of doubt. So
Yeah.
you gotta live your life through that. At the time, there was definite moments of doubt, and when I started shopping my portfolio around, some creative directors or senior writers absolutely hated my portfolio,
Mhm.
and they would offer advice that I would try and change my portfolio for them or drive that. But then there are other creative directors who said, "Oh, this is really good. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about changing that?" And a portfolio to me is never done. It's
No.
never finished. You listen to the voices that you trust and you learn to trust, who understand you, and you make adjustments and change it. However, there's always going to be people that hate it. And
Totally.
you look at LinkedIn now and everyone hates every other different ad out there or
Mhm.
something like that. That's life. And it's all about how you bounce back and how you have that inner drive to what you want to do and who you are at your foundational core of what you want to produce. And I
Yeah.
truly believe that is the work comes from internal. And the more you know yourself, the better you know yourself, the stronger you're going to be. With that in mind is you need to find mentors that will help you open doors. You talked a little bit about Rob Schwartz before. Like he's a great door opener for a lot of people, but a great creative director will always open doors for you. And your portfolio is a conversation starter because it's never ended. And that's
Mhm.
that's how I think about a portfolio.
Yeah. There are common mistakes that I've seen students, recent grads make is they shotgun their portfolio out all over the place looking for feedback. And that is just awful, in my opinion. Straight up awful of going to 20 different people saying, can you, what do you think I should change? And then they actually will probably change half of that. So then you have 10 different perspectives being showcased in your portfolio. You lose who you are as well. So I always recommend find like 2 mentors that you trust that actually can give you the time. Now, this is different from the folks that you wanna work for. The folks that you wanna work for, you don't really wanna be working with them on, like, bettering your portfolio because 'cause they're probably gonna see it at its infancy and, see you as a student or a project. It's a whole different, I think, psychological mind category of, like, I wanna hire this person or I wanna help this person in a way. Any disagreements there, Anthony?
No disagreements at all. And actually, I would drive the point home just a little bit harder for a second is I've done some comedy to style ads before. I'm not very good at it. I'm good at making people feel something. And I'm actually really good at making people connect emotionally or even cry or something like that. That's my strength is I'm very good at that
Yeah.
connection between areas. Comedy is just not my forte, and I just don't know whether it's the Australian sarcasm has never made it all the way to the US or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
when shopping my portfolio around originally in the US market, I ended up at JWT in Detroit. I realized that there are some creative directors who are great at comedy because they got brands that love comedy, like Bud Light loves
Mhm.
their comedy, and
Mhm.
that's great. I don't see myself because I'm a sarcastic person. I'm not a funny person. I
Mhm.
don't see myself ever being phenomenal at something that's super, super funny. So find creative directors that have the clients that suit your personality and suit this type of work that you love to do.
Yes.
And be as you said, don't shotgun it. Be almost like a sniper and really
Mhm.
work out where the alignment is. When you see that alignment, they'll make your work better, but also
Yep.
they'll see you for who you are as opposed to trying to adjust you to something else.
This episode is brought to you by The Shipyard, which is a full service marketing and communications agency, ladies and gentlemen. They engineer brand love as a measurable business force, building brands designed to spark, hold, and scale across culture and channels. From brand strategy and identity to creative development, digital innovation, media, performance marketing, and public relations, the Shipyard aligns every discipline to fight apathy and atrophy and create an unshakable presence over time. With coordinated strength across owned, earned, and paid ecosystems, the Shipyard helps brands adapt, endure, and perform under pressure so they are not only seen, but known and returned to. At the Shipyard, brand love is engineered to last, delivering integrated marketing, advertising, and communications built for long term impact. If you want to learn more, visit theshipyard.com, where they have coordinated strength and unshakable results. I love that. Yeah, no, even like it goes beyond the portfolio advice because there might be some account people, strategy people that are listening to this and they don't necessarily have a fully fleshed out portfolio. They might not need it if you're in the account side of things, which is changing by the year. However, like it does kind of apply. I've noticed for myself, and my co founder, Jack, are a little bit different in the fact that Jack is funny. Like, he's wild. He doesn't come from this industry. If anybody's familiar with this show that we do in our content, it's like he is not intimidated by a David Droga. I am terrified. But when I'm writing on LinkedIn and he's writing on LinkedIn personally and like building our personal brands, I find that I don't really have the comedic, like sarcastic element bone on my professional life and even my personal life. I would much rather do a piece about how I was changed by breaking entering media, the lives that I've touched, the interactions of people that I've helped break into the industry, and a more emotional, more proud standpoint. That's where my route takes for my personal LinkedIn. And it kind of applies to your own branding too. Don't try to be something that you're not, or else people will probably be able to tell.
No, you're exactly right. And people can sniff that. It's like AI. People can sniff the fakeness immediately and they
Hmm.
can feel it. and there's this disconnect. And how do you own your portfolio, but own it for you and who you are as a person?
Yeah,
And the more you protest about it, the further you get away from where you are as a whole.
totally. So I
One
wanna I
thing,
wanna
so
switch
you
up
go.
I was gonna switch up the conversation if that's okay. And I wanna talk about more about Eat the Donkey, what that means, and really after you explain high level again about discomfort, what was the moment in your career that you think of when you think about Eat the Donkey where you learned the lesson? Was there had to be a pivotal moment, like the first time you learned to eat the donkey or whatever that might be. Can you share that with us, please?
Um, the pivotal moment in my life was I moved to the US. I joined inside the Publicis group, and I had a great job, and I was working on great brands, like a range from LVMH all the way through to Verizon. And then I joined Amazon, and this was my first internal marketing agency team, and we're growing an internal agency inside Amazon that, as Amazon expanded into Germany or into France, we were setting up teams there. It was a really great lesson. And I joined Amazon with a bit of an ego, meaning
Mhm.
that, had gone to the Lions and spoken on the innovation stage and won awards, and I was fortunate that, we had clients that were a part of this journey. And I joined Amazon thinking I knew a lot about advertising, and I knew a lot about people, and I knew a lot about process. I didn't know anything. And when I got inside the organization and got inside their mechanisms and how they worked and how they built teams, was a very humbling experience and extremely soul destroying in a way, where within the first 3 to 6 months, I had my first Jeff meeting, and it blew up horribly bad. And it went so sideways, I thought I was going to get fired.
Oh gosh.
And in
We have to
my
talk
head,
about that.
I
What
want
what
to talk about
happened?
that. Um, so this was when Amazon's real core advertising business, where they made a lot of revenue outside of being a retailer, was search. And they wanted
Mhm.
to move more into brand. So now we know Amazon as having like OTT or connected TV. They run ads all the time. But in 2016, 2017, this was a very new thing for them, where they saw all these brand dollars out there and knew there was an opportunity. We knew there was something we could chase with this revenue. So we wanted to put a presentation together to take to the leadership inside Amazon that really spoke about what were the opportunities. And so myself, coming from inside Publicis, inside Zenith Optimedia, we knew the media revenue was there, same for Group M, etc. So we took a very Amazon first approach to this meeting. Amazon has this great mechanism called a working backwards document, otherwise known as a PR FAQ document, where you write a press release into the future with a lot of FAQs and a lot of data, a lot of facts. And so PowerPoint or Keynote doesn't exist inside Amazon. These documents are black and white, double sided, 11 point Times New Roman, single spacing all the way through. And
Lovely.
they are lovely, and it allows everybody to have a point of view. Meaning, if I get up on stage and I like presenting, I can talk my way through something where other people are very, very humble. And these documents allow the most junior person in the room to have a voice and almost overrule the most senior person in the room. So we took this document, we circulated around, and eventually found its way to a Jeff meeting. And a very long story short, Jeff does all these really super important meetings first thing in the morning when his brain's firing on all cylinders. This was an afternoon meeting, so we knew
Mhm.
where we were straight away on the pile. The document was, in my mind, very bulletproof and could not be sort of be broken in any way. So we had the revenue, we had the data, we had the facts, we had the thought about like how we're going to create content on Amazon.com or .com to bring brands to life on the platform. We had taken an approach where Amazon was going to drive this type of revenue or get these sort of advertisers like Ford or non-endemic ones like Verizon Wireless, and they wouldn't compete with our retail platform. With that, we took the approach of Amazon first. When you look at Amazon as a company, they're not a tech company, they're not a retailer, they're not an AI data web services company at all. Amazon is a customer experience platform, and the amount of inventions they've done is phenomenal. So the approach we took was the Amazon first and not a customer first approach. And he basically said, go back and rewrite the document and come back in 3 to 6 months' time when you know more about Amazon. Because we are not
Mm,
Amazon selling a product, we are Amazon serving a need for customers. And
mm,
we went back, and the rest is history. But understanding the company you're working for was a huge moment of my learning. And I
yeah,
had to unpack everything that I'd learned in the past
yeah,
about winning new business.
yeah. It's a whole different beast. And was that the impetus? Was that the first moment of eat the donkey? And remind me, what does eat the donkey mean for the folks at home? For me again?
Eat the donkey means there are times when you're going to have to make uncomfortable decisions and you're going to have to push discomfort over
Mhm.
everything else just to move forward in life. Get
So,
uncomfortable.
and that was the Amazon experience, the whole experience. I would imagine, being successful from agency side, going to brand side, taking a risk there, accepting that discomfort, which is way different ecosystem than a creative ad agency.
Way different ecosystem. I learned more in the 4 years and 1 hour at Amazon than I've learned anywhere else in the world. However, it opened up new doors for me at the same time. When I rejoined WPP, there was part of my business that ran the media side of the Airbnb account. I'm
Hmm.
not a media person, but I learned so much at Amazon about running media and understanding media and how to run a business I wouldn't have learned inside of an agency. And being
And
uncomfortable is a really good thing. I'm learning things I would never have learned.
where does this come in today for the folks that are trying to break into a creative ad agency? Maybe they've listened to a lot of the episodes on building a portfolio and like the basics and all that, but the basics are changing, like the adoption of AI or the fact that, there's social is a whole different changing ecosystem right now where these like micro dramas are becoming really popular and branded entertainment you see with Gap. Like, I guess, like, what does this mean for the folks that are trying to break into this industry or they just broke in to a creative agency?
So there's two things in there. If you're going to take a creative strategy or a creative approach, is the media is always going to be changing. No matter what happens, the media is always going to be changing. When I
Mhm,
was cutting my teeth, influencers and creators didn't exist. So
mhm,
come, 2013, 2014, 2015, I had to learn more about that ecosystem. I had
mhm,
to, in 2020, I had to build a TikTok video and put myself out there because it was a new medium. So you're always going to be learning those new things. AI is a new platform. You're always going to be learning. So if you are the first to learn and adapt to these new things that are coming down the line, you're always going to put yourself in a position to succeed.
mhm.
Don't don't rest on the laurels of your last step is the biggest thing. Like always just keep pushing further forward. I don't know whether breaking into an agency now is harder than it was, 20 years ago. And in some ways I do think it's harder because it's become more specialized. Personally, I'm not a fan of generalists. I'm a fan of
Mhm.
being very special and being great specialists. I would, going back to what we chatted earlier, I would still find out if you are a socially led person that are really great with creators or really great with influencers, and the micro side of it is like that is your specialty, stick to that. And you will one day end up creating an ad or one day doing a billboard. But be very true to what you're great at, and then learn the rest on the job. Don't try and be things you don't know how to do.
Interesting. Yeah, so specialize. Yeah, I think we're seeing that more and more now. Like, know your role, I guess, like, copywriter today is obviously different than it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago when I was breaking in, but, you know, whatever those new skills are within copywriting as a discipline, you should learn those, excel at those, practice, make it within that field. It's like like don't be a copywriter and an account person. Like pick a lane. Is that kind of similar to what you're stating?
I would be picking a lane because
Mhm.
we as humans are not very good at choices. If you
Yeah.
go to a cheesecake factory and there's
Mhm.
page upon page upon page of options, you might take longer to make up your mind. And are you ever going to be happy? Did I like this chocolate cheesecake versus I don't? It's just too hard of a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I wear
Even
the same shirt every day, Anthony. I bought 10 of the same shirts off Amazon, and one was stripes, one all white, the Steve Jobs approach. But really, it's because I need to make sure that I don't have to worry about that choice in the morning so I can actually focus the willpower on bigger decisions with the company.
yes, and the same as direct response marketing, we know if we give consumers or customers too big of a choice, the response rate drops down. And
Hmm.
that's a well known fact. So think about that from your career point of view. If you're going in and meeting somebody for the first, second, or third, or fourth time, and you're giving him too many options, I don't know who you are and what to buy off. Or I don't know that I should push you this way, or speak to these three people.
Yeah.
And meeting myself or yourself or someone else is like the job of meeting and creating a mentor is not so much about are they going to give you a job. They're going to be the ones to open up other doors for you. And they
Hmm.
need to write that introductory paragraph of meet person A or person B or person C. And they need to be able to understand it like, what do I say about you?
Right.
What do what are this what is it one call is I would probably get like 300 or 400 emails a day. I just got to work out what to do with it quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I'll leave the people with this and you can build off it. I've always, when I did interviews, and I've interviewed people, I was hiring people on the agency side as well. And you'd be surprised that not many people talk like this, but I would start off all my networking calls, any of the interviews or internship interviews, whenever I would say, "Hey, my name is Gino Schellenberger. I'm an aspiring account executive. I really want to work at Havas Chicago for the work on Stanley's steamer. I think it's phenomenal. I would love to work here." So you now know I'm an account person. I want to work at your agency and one reason why. Just like they already know now who I am. They know I did my homework and it's not just like a shotgun approach. But like those couple of things of just starting off with, I want to be an account executive, to me puts other people, it just puts you ahead of other people.
Do you know that's probably some of the best advice that I've heard from someone for a long time. And is when you're meeting with a creative director or an ACD or the head of account service or head of strategy, their calendars generally are booked from 8 in the morning all the way through to 6 at night. So
Hmm.
they're bouncing between meetings. And if you give them the C level summary up front, they're going to dial their minds in very, very quickly to what you want and where you want to go. And what
Totally.
you just said then is the snapshot or synopsis in a sentence and a half makes their life so much easier.
Totally. And that's the only thing that they remember. Great. That's what I want. And then when you follow up, hey, remember my name's, or Gary talking to you, very interested in account executive positions at Havas. Great talking to you, whatever it might be. Then you
Yeah.
follow up and you repeat the messaging over and over, Anthony. I think that's just something as simple that people need to hear. But then everything that you said about discomfort and accepting that, and like, I think people need to hear that because they think once they get into an agency, it's all easy from there, but it still is very difficult.
It's being an agency is very difficult. And I believe being a creative is even more difficult. And
Hmm.
you one of the controversial decisions that leadership's going through now, whether you're an internal agency inside of a business or you're an external agency as in the service industry, is we're battling with return to office. It's a really big tension point at the moment across big organizations and big agency groups is for anyone starting in their career, or I would say within the first 5 or 10 years of their career, being in office is a mandatory thought that you have to put inside your head.
Totally agree. Every single day, Monday through Friday, I showed up 200 days, like beat everybody out. Like you have to show up if you're a junior. If you like, there's no, my listeners know this. if they're
Perfect.
listening to this point, Anthony, they're showing up. It's expected of them that
Yes.
because they don't want to just break in at this point. They want to thrive in this industry. I mean, we make our employees show up from 8 a.m. till, God knows when, Monday through Friday, because we're a startup. But you should have that mentality to learn every single day from these people at an agency, even if they're not there. Like being in the walls and seeing what's on the walls is so important. I totally agree with you, Anthony.
Yeah, love that. And work out what time your boss gets into the office and when their door is open. And if you could walk through and say, "Hey, Gino, I'm working on something. What, you got 5 minutes?"
Yep.
That learning by osmosis or learning by hallway conversations is going to help your career so much more. And there's going to be a time when Gino, your manager, has something that he's or she's unsure about. He's going to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm working on something here. Can you have a quick look at that?" And that's a
Hmm.
two-way street, and you're building that rapport. I love what you're saying. Yeah.
Anthony, where can people buy your book?
As an ex-Amazon employee, the buying the book is easiest on Amazon.com. It does appear in a few airports, but Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com is by far the best way to purchase a book.
I can't wait for people to read it, myself included, and just to watch your journey, to get involved with you. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today on the Breaking Entering podcast.
Gino, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.